E- exhaustion.
Deep breath, Cormac.
Yeah.
I, you talk
And
about being exhausted. I took a nap yesterday. I never take naps. I was so out. Holy crap! It was like incredible.
I felt like today I was going to take a nap in the middle of a meeting that I was on because I was just
Are you saying it
so
was a snooze
exhausted.
fest?
No,
Was it?
no. Funny enough, it wasn't
It was
that
just you.
it was
It's
just
not.
me.
It's not you. It's me. Yeah.
It was definitely not them, me. It was just, I was just exhausted. I woke up realizing that today we've reorganized the office into communities based around kind of like different practice groups, kind of similar to the old studios method, but we're calling them the nicer, gentler communities, which I have got no problem with, to be quite honest with you. Where it may sound like, but we were giving a presentation today, and I completely forgot that a part of that was the tech, kind of like a tech and design portion of it, which is usually about like a 10-minute kind of spiel talking about like different things, whether it's tech related, detail related, documentation related, design related. And I was doing something on handrails of all
Hmm.
things.
That sounds amazing.
It, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so I forgot that I did not finish up my portion of the slides and everything. Not my portion, I mean, but I did not finish up the slides to get ready for the presentation. And so I woke up around 4 thinking about it. And I'm like, just get up and go do it. So been kind
Oh.
of, yeah. So I'm tired because I've been up early. And
Hmm.
then I just rolled that into responding to RFIs and then rolled that into meetings and then
Why
rolled
don't
that
you start
into
working? You can't
reviewing.
stop working. Yeah.
Kind of that was it. It was just like, well, you're up now. Just keep on keeping on. And I did.
So have you always been well, not that you are an early riser. You do get up pretty early though, right?
I do.
So have you always been like that, or is this something that has
Mm,
changed throughout your career, or what do you think?
no, I mean, I've always been an early riser and a late going to bedder. So
Okay, so the name
I
of
was
this episode is burning the candle at both ends because that's what you do,
sure.
clearly.
I rarely, and I will say, preface this by past Cormac would be work till exhaustion
Hmm.
and then wake up early and do it all over again.
Okay.
And normally I will, sometimes I'll still do that, but not often anymore.
Yeah.
More, I'll just be like, the habit is that I continue to go to sleep late and wake up early. And
My son is visiting from out of town, one of my boys, and we went out and did a bunch of stuff yesterday, and then but he got here, my oldest, he's staying with my oldest, and
right.
so they came over, and he's dragging his feet, and it's like, what happened? Sorry, I couldn't go to sleep. Here's what I imagined him doing, Cormac. What do you think I imagined him doing until 3
Doom
a.m.?
scrolling,
Doom scrolling, yeah,
just
social
scrolling.
media, getting the blue light
Yeah.
in the eyeballs till late
Oh,
at night.
I hear my daughter say that all the time. She's like, I just couldn't get to sleep. Well, what were you
What were
doing?
you doing? Weren't
Yeah.
laying there with your eyes closed trying to get to sleep, I
Right.
imagine. That's what I
Ex-
immediately go to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I feel like if I'm awake, I need to be productive somehow, whether it's watching the random, my gosh, you're a nerd, architectural documentary, because why not?
Were you just
Why
talking to
not?
yourself right there?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, okay,
Mhm.
so a screen, you just mentioned a screen. I just mentioned a screen, right? This is the thing. It's like being productive. So you're resting, but you're watching, you're being entertained or you're
I am.
learning or whatever
Yeah.
however you want to
Yeah.
frame it, right?
Yeah.
But still, it's like that is the culture nowadays,
It
right?
is.
It's
Yeah.
it's just constantly on, and uh, yeah.
I,
What do you think about that?
why? This is the question is, why can't you just
You're
shut
actively
down?
participating in it, right? And I think a
Oh,
lot of
yeah,
people
yeah,
feel like this. You're totally actively participating, and at the same time, you're like, I shouldn't be doing that.
yeah, yeah. It's like, well, at least I wasn't like doom scrolling, or at least I wasn't doing this or doing that. And I was like, but you're still staring into a screen. You're still
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not just closing your eyes, vegging out, and going to sleep, which is what your body really needs. So, what's the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Other than, I don't know about you, but you just start scrolling through and you're just like, ah, you know,
So here's what I do. I have a smart outlet that my Wi-Fi router is plugged into,
hmm
and that automatically goes off at 11 o'clock every night, and it doesn't turn back on until 6 the next day. Not that that would stop you on your phone, because
I
you
was
still
going
have
to,
cellular.
I was going to
You would
say,
still,
how
you
does
st-
that
but
change the
it
phone?
does something. It does
Yeah,
something. It's like you have to do. It's crazy though, right? We have to
right,
do. We don't have to. You don't have to do these things, but you can do these things. But it's funny because you're resting and you're actively resting because you're
right.
watching or learning or doing something. You're
So,
not actually resting when you're tired and away. And
right.
like you said, you feel
Just
compelled to
because
be
you're,
productive. That's ridiculous.
yeah, it's like just because you're like laying flat doesn't necessarily mean you're resting.
No, absolutely not. Most people, I think nowadays aren't. They're like they
No,
feel like you, like, oh, I should be, I could be learning, or what, and then it devolves into something that is not learning usually. Right?
sure. Oh, what is John Wick doing?
So, yeah, actively resting, watching an action flick, right?
Exactly, exactly. But I, I don't. It's interesting, is because I can. We both probably can remember the days pre-phone, or even pre like smartphone. Let's just say pre-internet, pre-social media kind of things, where you put your phone down. What else is there to do? Sleep. There's really, or at the very least, you're what, listening to music in the dark, and you're then
Mm-hmm.
ultimately falling asleep or
Podcasts,
something.
yeah, something,
Well, back in the day, you weren't. I mean, there
right?
was
Oh
no
yeah,
such
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
right,
I'm
yeah.
talking about back in the
No,
day,
totally,
and
totally.
now it's just like we've we've evolved into needing this constant
Devolved.
stimuli. Devolved, yes,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
devolved into needing this constant stimuli where we're just whatever it is you just got to keep kind of like those synapses firing for with something, right? Instead of letting them rest, relax, and recharge, so that you can actually be productive the next day. And
Yeah, it's actually an addiction, right? And
it,
what's it's interesting because now there's tech companies out there who are talking pretty heavily about the like Johnny Ive, who used to be at Apple and
mhm,
designed the iPhone and
yeah,
designed all those computers with screens and all those things, is now supposedly working with OpenAI to come up with some kind of hardware AI device that is no screen, right? Screenless on purpose because of some regret that he feels
but
about designing devices that billions of
well,
people use all the time. And I just think it's kind of interesting, though, that it's like this really public acknowledgement by a really powerful individual to say, like, oh, we kind of screwed up.
yeah, yeah,
And here we are. And I think what's interesting about it is we truly actually enjoy it, and that is what makes it so difficult to even acknowledge that it is addictive in that way.
right.
So
And
nobody wants to be addicted to anything, I don't think.
and so to kind of bring that home to architecture, there used to be a time when, let's say, we would study like precedents and read books and kind of commit to memory things that we found important about design or whatever. And now it's, I don't have to remember it. I just
Mm.
have to
You look
remember,
it up.
oh, I had
Yeah.
a tab that I saved, or I can look it up, or whatever. And then you don't, to me, I guess the lament about all of that is that you lose this kind of like essence of trying to learn everything you can about it, like learn the importance of why it is that you're looking at something. Like when we were talking about the British Arts Museum, and we were going through this detail of the experience and everything else, but we've known about this project for so long, and it's been part of these just ideas that we have about architecture or space or whatever else. And we've like dived deep into understanding. And I don't know if we dive deep enough anymore because we're just 30-second soundbiting our knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, there's so much more access too. So that plays a part in it, is just the availability of everything. That wasn't like before. I had to go to the 5th floor of the university library
right.
and go through the stacks and try to find the books, and then go to the library that was in the architecture building too, and try to find the books and then the slides and
right.
look at drawings and do all those things. And now it's literally on this thing that you have with you all the time, and yet it's like filtering through that noise is difficult too.
But does more mean more? I mean, and what I mean by that is does more, you have more access to all different things, but are you doing the deep dive into understanding what it is that you're looking at, what it is that makes that particular thing special, or what could repulse you, whatever? I mean, are you giving it more of a chance than just the 30-second scroll? Or even are you spending 30 seconds on it?
I think you nailed it. I think that you've actually, you're saying exactly the right thing, which is like this commitment to. So people say they're researching things, but what they're actually doing is just searching for things.
Yeah.
So searching is not researching.
Yeah, exactly.
Research is a methodology. It's like it has steps, right? You've got it's like the scientific method in that way. It's like, I think that this thing, now I'm going to go figure that out. If that's even a valid question. Okay, now I've decided that's a valid question. Now I'm going to find these sources, and I'm going to dig deep into those, and I'm going to cross-reference. And remember, we had to write bibliographies and all those things, right?
Yes.
Citations. And you're right. Like now it's just like one thing leads to another. Okay, all of a sudden I'm shopping for shoes, right? I've said that before. And then you go back and you're, okay, I'm back on track now. And skimming, like you're literally skimming, and good enough. Ooh, that's cool. Oh, good enough. But it's not deep like you're talking about.
You remember when you read the cliff notes of a book you were supposed to read in school, and then you basically got exposed when you took the test, the final exam, because the cliff notes by some chance didn't cover everything that the test or exam was going to cover. And it's sort of what we're doing now, is we're just looking for the cliff notes. Okay, well, why is the British Arts Museum a good building? And it's just like quick search. Oh, okay. It's because he uses light and he uses this and that. And it's just like, but how? Why? Are you asking the hows and the whys of what it is that you're looking at? Are you just looking for examples of like, I don't know. I'm starting to feel like I'm yelling at the clouds a little bit, but
you are,
which I am.
But that's fine. That's what this episode's about, I guess. But the thing that's interesting to me about your point about going deeper is like, so we've talked about this for years on the podcast, right? Which is that the whole, like how you become an architect, and we've talked about the value of experience,
right?
And actually experiencing things, not just doing things, but experiencing things and going to the site, and how much of that stuff over the years has just been removed from the training of an architect because it's not efficient enough, right? It's not expedient enough. It's like, it's not convenient enough for us to invest in our people, to send them to the site, to do CA, to do all of those things. And so like when we go visit the British Art Museum and take the time and not be on a schedule, like we didn't have to get there at a certain time. We didn't have to leave at a certain time.
Right.
We just did the thing, and we decided when it was time to leave, and we decided how long we were going to spend on floor number 3 and floor number 4 by being there and seeing things and asking questions and being curious and looking for alternative angles, different points of view within the building. And it's through that exploration, that curiosity, that exploration of the thing. How much did we learn versus 5 pages in the monograph that you have on your desk.
Exactly. It's interesting. So today, of some of the mini meetings, and the one that I'll admit that I was starting to feel a little tired in.
Nod off.
I couldn't nod off because I was actually talking. So I just felt tired.
I think I might have. I maybe have done that.
Been in one of those.
Level unlocked.
Exactly. It's just like, and so what I'm saying is,
I'm micro sleeping.
Exactly. I've been QCing a project, and there's some, it's early in the stage, so obviously there's some things that are missing, but there's some things that you would expect to be there at this stage that aren't there. And a lot of the conversation today wasn't about why was it there and things like that, but the reason and the story of like why it's important for it to be there. What kind of information at this level versus at this stage versus this stage versus this stage of why that information needs to be there. And a lot of what I was realizing is most of the team is very young and haven't had the experiences of being out on site or being exposed to certain things. And so they just don't know what the importance is. So if they're given an example project and say, this is a project that is very similar, they'll try to emulate the information that's on that example project without understanding why it is that they're doing what they're doing. And it's through really no fault of theirs that they just haven't had the opportunity for the experience. But that is in turn the reason why the experiences we constantly talk about is really important, because you'll understand why that certain thing is very important to put on the drawings, because you're trying to tell a story. Why am I doing a reflected ceiling plan? What am I trying to get out of it? I mean, we may think that, okay, well, I've put a ceiling in there, I've put lights in there, I've put this in there, and so that's it, right? We're good? Story told? No, the story isn't told, because what are you trying to get out of it? What is missing that if somebody else was reading this story, that they would miss and not get, you wouldn't get the design that you're ultimately hoping for, right? And so it's kind of like this, the doom scrolling or the quick check. If you're just looking at an example and trying to emulate that without understanding why it is that you're doing what you're doing or why it's necessary for that information to be there, even more so, okay, I've got my lights in, I'm showing some ceiling devices, my strobes or speakers or whatever else. Okay, that's part of the story. The rest of the story is what's going on underneath the skin, what's going on in the ceiling plenum. Is all the conduit that's going to all of those things interfering with the ductwork, or are you going to be able to install your lights or your ceiling diffusers and things like that because of all of those other things? So it's the story, but there's more to it. It's peeling back the layers of looking further and further and further into it to understanding is the surface, the image that we see on the screen, actually able to work.
Yeah. So how do you fix that? Because modern practice is not designed to develop people in that way. Quick, I want an answer. Damn it!
It's go backwards. Go backwards a little bit.
It's not going to happen, though, right? I mean, it's just not going to happen. Like, we're not, and because my mind immediately jumps to, well, remember when we weren't all staring at 24-inch screens,
right?
Or maybe two. We were looking at big mainline boards, and somebody had a big ass drawing.
Yes.
And as you walked from here to the bathroom, you saw the big ass drawings that people were working on, and you had to go to another person's desk to talk to them. I mean, it was rare that it happened over the phone, right? It wasn't over instant messaging. It wasn't over Teams. It wasn't any of that. And so conversations, like it like, oh, I'm at Cormac's desk and he's working on elevations. Hey, oh, I see this. What is that?
Yeah.
That happened way more. That just happened. You weren't, Cormac, how much of your day do you spend in Outlook? Like, who learned something by overseeing your Outlook? I know you're not even in the office, right?
Yeah.
But they don't.
Right.
They just don't. It doesn't happen. It's so different. And we're not going back.
And we're not going back, which, oh, that just hurts me in all sorts of different ways.
The crazy thing is you have, this is not you, Cormac, but this is somebody in your position. God damn it, why don't the kids know how to do this?
Right.
How come I'm doing QC on this set and XYZ? How come?
And to be quite honest with you, so I wish that those people, and don't get me wrong, like it took me a while to get to this stage. And I think, honestly, it took me going remote, mostly at the time of the starting of COVID, to start to realize that there's got to be a better way to utilize what we're doing, because we're not, as you said, we're not going backwards. We're not going to have that time. So the time is part of the project process. And so if you're going through and you're asking somebody to do toilet room plans, so then it's like, okay, well, what is the opportunity for me to ask them the questions to get them to understand the whys that they're doing what they're doing? Today was a perfect example. We were looking at the enlarged toilet room plans, and it was like, okay, I see the way that you have the toilets laid out, and they're back to back, but they're aligned. So do you have a back-to-back carrier? Do you
Right.
like, what is the plumbing? All of these other things. So you ask the questions and make sure that the internals, the stuff you don't see, actually works. When you put the drinking fountain in this location, you're putting it in a 6-inch wall. Well, does that 6-inch wall accommodate the compressor and the cooler and all of this other stuff, parts of the water fountain? And come to find out, we were talking a little bit more, that we're going to have to actually add a chase in there or do a bigger wall because of that. And all of those are fine, but these are the questions that I'm realizing, because of the process of moving so quickly into, okay, you've graduated. Okay, now you're at work, and here's our expectations. And we want to just crank out all of this stuff, where we don't stop and say, oh, how are they learning? Are they learning the right way? Are they learning at all? Are we giving them the opportunity to learn? Are we giving them the opportunity to fail and ask questions? And the answer is no in most of those cases. And so if we aren't going to do that, how are we going to be able to do that in this very fast pace? Hey, just to let you know, we don't have a lot of time. Like, if you thought that this particular project was going to take, I'm just going to throw out arbitrary numbers, 24 weeks. Well, guess what? We only have 18 weeks. And you're just like, well, you still have 24 weeks worth of work. Now you have to put 24 weeks worth of work into 18 weeks. Oh, and by the way, we're going to staff you with a bunch of recent graduates and things like that because of their billable rates and things like that. Okay, fine. Now I've got to do a lot of training in that 18 weeks. And so now I've got, not only do I have
you got screwed. You okay, fine. Oh my gosh.
Well, but I mean, it's just like, well, what other choice do you have but to do that? And so then the question is, okay, how do we work our way around this, that it's not only productive to like actually get the project done, but get the project done correctly, and the people who are new to the profession or new to the firm or have never worked on this building type before can actually learn something about it and learn from it.
And then there's like the digital practice person inside who used to be inside me, who's like thinking of a BIM manager who's going to have to like deal with the model made by somebody who doesn't know what the hell they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Why does it take 20 minutes to open and sync and close? It's because the model's broken.
20 minutes.
How'd that happen?
Wow, that's
nobody
awesome.
knew. 20 minutes would be great. Yeah, I saw some report recently that decent sized firms, I don't know what that means, big firms, it takes 9,000 hours a year just opening, syncing, and saving. That's how much time is being spent on that.
9,000. That feels like.
What could you do with 9,000 hours a year?
Well, we've timed.
That's That's three. That's
You're
more than three full-time employees for
you're
a year.
you're gonna love this. So my Saudi project has two models. Two models are massive because we had 8 buildings. Heinz,
I was gonna
Heinz,
say, I can't believe you only have two models.
hindsight. I'm gonna tell everybody right now.
We
Hindsight.
would do it differently.
We would do it completely differently. And am I the one probably to blame because of the fact that all of these buildings were interconnected by 2 layers of basement, and that was their
So you
foundations?
advocated for this.
Well, the problem is, it's just like, okay, think about this.
You didn't know what you didn't know, Cormac.
We didn't know what we didn't know. We had 8 buildings that the basement and sub-basement were their foundations, interconnected between all of them. So it's kind of like the redwoods, right? Or sequoias that are connected together.
The roots. Yeah.
The roots are all connected together, and so they grow up. And so how would you model like 8 separate sequoias? Would you model them as 8 separate sequoias and then try to figure out where the match line is for their root system? Well,
Yes.
that was
The answer is yes.
yeah. Well.
He would learn shared coordinates. That's how. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Well, there you go. But anyway, I'm not going to start to go through my justifications because at the end of the day, they were all wrong.
It's not that. Yeah.
They were all wrong.
So what time? What's your time?
52 minutes to open up one of our models. 52 minutes. Now, we've cleaned it up a lot. It's brought it down. Now we're in kind of like the upper 30s, low 40s, depending on like your internet speed at the time. But wow, I mean, and think about this. So say, for instance, I have to get into both models. I'm obviously going to open up one first and start working on whatever it is that I need to do information wise while the other one's opening. And I know we've sort of like diverged here, but I mean, it's one of these kind of things. It's like, what do you do when like half your day is spent in just waiting for other things to happen?
This is why you don't close Revit at night.
I don't.
That's why you don't. Yeah,
I don't.
You just leave it open. Now, what could go wrong with that? I don't know.
Yeah. Hey,
Anyway,
the last thing that I do is sync. First thing that I do is sync, and hope that it all works out.
It actually opens.
Yeah.
No whammies, as they used to say.
No,
Yeah.
no, not at all. But
So I don't know. What were we talking about before?
oh, we
We
were
went
just
on
talking
this
about. Well, I mean, it all, in a way, it all has like even the kind of like divergence of the Revit deal is all talking about kind of like the hindsight of the way that we work, the way that we teach, the way that we are teaching our new employees how to like actually function in the profession, and learn and grow. I mean, because it's really about learning and growing, right? I mean, hindsight, somebody should have said to me, say a bid manager or something, hey, by the way, this is probably a bad idea because of. I think I made I weirdly made a pretty good argument about the whole sequoia analogy that people are like, all right, well, let's do it that way. I wish somebody was,
Yeah.
3 years ago, I wish somebody slapped me in the face. 4 years ago.
So the thing to me that this just really points back to is how reactive this profession is and has always been.
Right.
It's like, what is the workaround for this current situation? That is the active way of thinking is what's the workaround? It's not proactive planning multiple years, months, whatever into the future.
Right.
Even looking at somebody's future of their career kind of a thing. It's like it's like you're literally like I went whitewater rafting with my son, and it's like the goal if an uninformed rafter, the goal is to make it to the bottom, however that happens, and it's usually via pinball, right? It's just like let's just bounce off the rocks till we. Whereas like an experienced rafter is like, okay, we already know the rapid. We've done it 18 times in our head before we even got here. We know exactly where to go forward. We know exactly where to back paddle. We know when the left goes to the left and the right goes to the right and when to stop and do all these things and get to the bottom without touching anything. And I don't feel like we do that in architecture.
So that's a great analogy, to be quite honest with you, because you've got the experience rafter
The
who
guide.
has sort of understood how to guide you through and all of that other stuff, and then you've got basically the seat of the pants. Let's just make it to the bottom kind of one. How do they work together so that not only do the people who are kind of like in a way, I think that there's a level of kind of excitement and um what's I'm blanking on a good word, but basically this like naivete of like the people who are just trying to make it to the bottom. So like if you think about it in the architecture project, it's just like I'm just here for the ride to just see what I can do and see and learn and all these other things.
That's how we're
And
bred.
then,
That's
and
totally
then,
how we're bred. And
yeah,
it's like, we're up for the challenge. Oh,
right.
new challenge? Hell yeah. I'm up for that.
Exactly.
Let's see
But
what.
then you've got that then you've got that guide, that sage, that person who's trying to just like
Mhm.
guide everybody through and kind of understand, look, I've been through this before. I've been through these rapids before. Let's figure out how to get you to the bottom safely, but then let's figure out how to like also enjoy this, but also learn a little bit too along the journey. And I don't know if I think in a way sometimes the experienced guy says, let's just make it to the bottom as fast as we can.
Mhm. Mhm.
In architecture, that is.
And
Um,
that's where technical debt becomes accrued, right? It's
yeah,
like that's where you get 52-minute model opening times
right.
because
Yeah,
you didn't know what you didn't know, and now
didn't.
you're paying the price. You pay the
Right.
price every single day.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, I do. Or never close the bottle down.
So, like, is there a way out of this issue? Because this is industry wide.
It is. It is.
I
I kind
mean,
of wish
you
I
sent
knew.
me a link to that AIA report the other day, right? Which was
Yeah,
like our schools training students to become useful. I don't remember the
right,
exact terminology, but it was like, are they prepared to enter the workforce?
right.
And there's always been this tension between the workforce and
It-
universities, right?
yeah, and honestly, we've asked this question on occasion: is what is the role of academia in architecture? If you compare it to other professional programs, doctor, lawyer, dentist, whatever, every one of them are preparing them for a role where they're able to perform their job at graduation, that they're able to start the process of sitting for their boards or whatever it is to become a practitioner, to be able to save lives, to be able to practice law. Whereas we sort of have made this pact with ourselves that when upon graduation, an architect is not an architect. It is an explorer, an adventurer, somebody who's creatively curious, but can't really practice architecture in the way that our license depends on, right? Like you would never expect anybody fresh out of school to be able to sign and seal a document and understand the ramifications of that responsibility. And so then you have to ask the questions like, is that what architecture school is really supposed to be doing? When we say we want them to be more prepared for practice, well, what does that really mean? You've heard me say this. Are we preparing them to be architects or practitioners? And there's some people will get offended by it and say, oh, well, it should be both. It's not. It isn't. I agree it should be, but it's not. We've
But could it be?
chosen
I
one
don't even
thing.
know that it. I mean, should and could are two different.
That's a completely yeah, I totally.
Because design is not a. I mean, there's tame problems and there's wicked
Right.
problems, and design is on the wicked side of things, which is like
Right.
there is
Right.
no one way to do it, and like it's such a difficult conversation to have, right?
I know.
You know what it's like, so it's a
Right.
little easier
Right.
with you. But there's definitely people who are like, well, what the hell does that mean? To me, this is one of those things where there are so many things that we could do the same way over and over and over again,
Right. Right.
and there are many, many things that we cannot.
Yeah.
And it's every project is a special unicorn. It kind of is on some level, every project is a little bit different, but like to your point, like we do have these blinders on that like every project starts from. I have to generalize. That's all we can do in this. There's just too many variables here. But it's one of those things where it's like, school trains people to go work in firms and do things the way that we've always done it. They totally do. They're not training entrepreneurs to rethink the profession of architecture.
But are they even teaching them to? Okay,
because the reason I say it like that, the way I say it like that, is because we aren't going to go back and do it the way we've always done it. It's never going to happen.
Right.
To go back and revisit how we started this conversation, right? Which is people don't know the things that they don't know, and they're not going to learn them in school.
Right.
And they're definitely not getting the opportunities to learn them in a firm because it's not convenient.
And so, in a way, one of the most creative professions is stifling creativity. An opportunity to try and be creative with both practice, when we talk about creativity in the profession, I don't necessarily ever actually mean what does your building look like. It's what is the process of being able to get there in a very effective but creative and kind of enjoyable fashion. There's all sorts of different ways of being able to practice in a way that you're like, okay, this outcome was extremely successful because of how creative we were in the process. And I don't even think, because in a lot of firms, and whether it's large or small or anything in between, there's just the roadblocks of trying to get from point A to point B. Go back to your rafting analogy of just trying to get to the end, follow the flow, get to the bottom. We'll get there. It doesn't really matter what's learned along the way. It doesn't really matter what the outcome is that we've got from point A to point B. Boom, done. Let's move. Yeah, without time. And let's get on to the next one. Whereas like the guide, they're like, okay, I kind of understand point A to point B. Let's try something new along the journey. But
to make it enjoyable.
It enjoyable. But are they able to do that? Is that creativity stifled because of just what's the inherent problems within the profession?
Yeah. I have more questions than answers. Obviously, I wish it was like, oh, it's easy. But it isn't.
No, it isn't.
It's disheartening to come to terms with that and just
yeah because you see and you'll see this because when you see people on this path, on this journey, and they aren't guided properly because the process doesn't allow them to be guided properly, they give up, they quit, they look for something different because they're not being fulfilled. And does it mean that they lack the talent? Do they lack the creativity? Do they lack the drive? Probably not. I feel in a lot of ways, I've seen a lot of junior architects that have worked with me or worked with the firms that I've worked at that have almost been betrayed by the profession.
That's a really interesting way to put it.
Yeah, because the profession has failed them. They haven't failed the profession. They were sold something that the profession was unable to live up to. Mm-hmm. That a version of it. A version.
Real.
I mean, if you think about what you thought architecture was before you got into architecture, is architecture that?
Not even. No.
Not even close.
It doesn't take very long to think about the answer for that.
Yeah. Exactly.
And to be fair, it's way better than I thought it was. In many
totally
ways. And in many ways, it's completely busted, broken.
Yeah. And would I do anything differently? Absolutely not. I mean, we've talked about this on numerous occasions, and I don't know what else I would do otherwise. But
it wouldn't be hard for you to find something.
Yeah, that's true.
You like a lot of cool things.
I do. But I do really, really like this, and I really enjoy doing this. I especially now that I've started to teach and starting to see all of these like just bright, bright kids coming into the profession, telling them what I never, never heard from a professor is you have the opportunity to change the profession, and I challenge you, I dare you to do it. Please do it.
I like that's an interesting way to frame it, because I think most of the time the attitude is you'll be lucky and you'll be happy if you can keep up.
Yes.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Most of the it's something like that.
Sometimes you'll think and you'll look at somebody and you'll say, man, this profession's going to, if you continue the way that you're doing, this profession's just going to eat you alive. And I think to myself, holy crap, why would we say that? Honestly, that would be the person who would be able to innovate us into a different way of thinking about doing it so that it doesn't eat you up, that it does encourage you to kind of go forward and do something more. And I know I'm being idealistic here, but, and hopeful. But, I mean, why have we created a profession that eats people up? Chews them up, spits them out.
Eats their young. And
exactly.
I see people's posts on Entree Architect Facebook group, for example.
Yeah.
And people going through some seriously deep stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah,
terrible stuff. And it's not just inside the profession; it's in the industry, right? It's like it's the next layers that you have to. It's these developers, it's these contractors, it's these officials who are checking the plans. It's oh my gosh, like there are so many layers of crap sitting on top of architecture, like wrapping architecture.
Yeah.
That wow.
It was funny as I was following that thread of the conversation about the AHJ and what was going on with them in the process for getting a permit. And I'm going through a permit amendment right now for a building that's been under construction for quite some time. And it's taken an excruciatingly long time to get to a process where basically now we're at a point where we're going to have to fight the city. That it's just like
legally
fight the city.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an opportunity. No, back alley kind of like, but no, I'm kidding. But anyway, But you're right. I mean, there's just so many layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of things. And I think that's another way of thinking about the creativity within architecture, the profession. How do you deal with things like that? How are you able to stay sane when you have to battle things like that? Battling contractors or, and I say battle in a way of just like trying to get things accomplished in an efficient manner where both parties come out of this unscathed, or at least just not like absolutely hating each other and all of this other stuff. And
or
just
maybe you got paid enough to make it worth it, which is rare.
Right.
if
and it's
never.
just like the trying to juggle all of the other things. And I still, and you've heard me say this and I've said it on the podcast before, one of the interns that when she had graduated with her undergraduate degree, and she came in and she was working with us, and I was taking her out to the job site and we were walking around. She sat through some OAC meetings with me and everything else, and one time we were leaving and she had said, I did not realize there was so much administration work in architecture. And I think in our creative minds, in our creative experiences and things like that, we're taught how to all naturally become like being able to navigate through all of the administrative portions of all of this stuff. And we're talking about the AHJs, we're talking about interactions with clients and contractors and user groups and all of these other things. And that's the administrative part of it. But I mean, you still have to come to it with a very creative approach. You have to do, sometimes I don't mean it as demeaning as it sounds, but sometimes you have to do the thinking for other people, because they don't know what they don't know.
Sure.
And so you have to do that thinking for them. And it's our creative process that does that for them, that thinks about it slightly out of the box. I mean, we're working through some challenges and some design changes through construction of some lighting in one of my projects that we as a team started to talk about, what if we did this, or what if we did this, what if we did this? I'm listening to all of this different input. I'm trying to understand and digest where the trades are coming from, where the contractor's coming from, where the owner's coming from, and all of these other things. And then we came up with an idea that I just took and created this little, like, churned all of everybody else's ideas into a comprehensive approach that said, okay, if this is how you're going to build it, and this is how you're going to procure it, and this is how you're going to use it, this is what we really should be doing to be able to accomplish that. And to tie it back to what we've been talking about, it's through my experience in dealing with all of these people on site over and over and over again, that repetitive, that everything may be uniquely different in the project process, but it is also very similar when you're going through the process, and you can learn so much by doing it over and over and over again. Okay, how do you deal with, like, the way that they frame this wall? Okay, you're going to frame this wall 100 times over in your career. Okay, so you may not necessarily learn something new, but you may learn something different in the way and a technique of how you do it. And so then you can bring that to a conversation that I had today. You know, the team had some diagonal bracing within a wall. I'm like, how are you dealing with that? Is the wall wide enough to deal with the flanges? Is it the connection points and all of that other stuff? It looks like the framing member is just barely within inside the stud member. But you've got so much more than just the framing member that you actually have to deal with to make sure that it's in there. So yeah, I'm just dealing with just a regular old generic stud wall, but is the generic stud wall being used in the right way, thinking about all of the other things that come with it? You know? And so these are the things that kind of come up with the creativity of the craft of making sure things are coming out the way that you want them to. I was like, I'm pretty sure you don't want your base plate sticking out of the bottom of this wall, because then what do? Like, the first thing that somebody's going to say is, what the hell? Or some other colorful word.
Yeah.
So yeah, in how do we teach that in today's profession?
It takes time.
An extremely,
who's got time?
So I sent you, and I don't know if you've had an opportunity to look at it. I sent it today in one of my, like, pause of doom scrollings, and it was I believe it was Peter Eisenman and I.M. Pei on stage being asked some questions, and believe it was Eisenman. If it was Eisenman, that was the other person other than I.M. Pei on stage, that basically he was talking about it takes to the age of 40 to become an architect. I don't think today's young architect is going to buy off and believe that. And what he meant, because he expanded upon it even further, and what he meant is that it's the time that it takes to gain the experience of repetition, of experiencing things over and over again, of doing things over and over again, that starts to give you the confidence of being able to do it again and again and again, but doing it at an elevated level. And I.M. Pei kind of chimed in, and he was talking about, it's not that I couldn't do things when I was young. It was like I was so inexperienced that, was I doing it right? Or was I doing it, he even said that I was learning from Europe. I was learning from all of these other architects. He was doing the skimming.
But I would probably say devouring.
But devouring.
Not even just skimming.
Exactly.
And to me, like, when I think about what Eisenman's talking about there, I think he's probably, knowing Eisenman, talking about someone like Eisenman,
right,
who is a devourer of a single subject, like architecture. I wouldn't call it's not really a single subject, but you know what I mean? Like a comprehensive devouring.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think the younger generations aren't into that. Like,
Right.
not
Because
into that. And so they wouldn't buy 40. Like it just wouldn't happen by then.
You know, and I don't, like you and I have talked about this because it took us 17 years to get our license through life and everything else. And my weird little stance on like, I don't have enough experience to really call myself an architect kind of thing,
Self-doubt,
blah, blah,
yeah.
blah,
Right.
self-doubt, whatever we want to call it. But it was seriously just this. Do I feel like I'm just now? I mean, I sort of feel in a way that the level of confidence that I have in architecture now isn't because I tried to rush what I was doing. It was because I wanted to devour. I wanted to learn as much as I could and understand all of the different kind of like nuances of the little things. It's like, how do I know? Somebody asked me, how do you know how to do this? It's because I've done it enough times. You know, how do I know that? The question that I want to ask about whether or not that wall was wide enough to cover over the base plates of this diagonal bracing it's because I've screwed up. Like my naive self just said, it's a 4-inch HSS tube that's diagonally braced and it's sitting on these base plates. And I never paid attention to how big those base plates were. They're 8 inches. 4-inch HSS tube, I can put a 6-inch stud around it, right? Yeah, fits perfectly fine. Everything's good. What's going to happen? Just now in this conversation, I can tell you that your base plates are going to be sticking out from the bottom of your wall, and you're not going to be able to cover them over. And then the client's going to be looking down and saying, "Hey, what's up here?" And it's just like you could have made that decision a lot sooner when you realized the fact that, oh, maybe this isn't what you should have done. You should have done this. And so it's asking the questions and going back to the Heisman example. It's I'm able to answer the questions because I've asked the question or had the question asked to me enough times throughout my career that the confidence and the experience level is there commensurate with being able to just Johnny on the spot answer the question. There's a lot of times where people will say, well, you know what, let me think about this. And that's great. We should stop and slow down and answer those. But I'm also able to just say, hey, what are we going to do here? Everybody's eyes turn towards Cormac. What are we going to do here? And Cormac, because of his experience, is able to provide an answer that is actually probably grounded in reality.
Yeah.
No.
So this isn't what's keeping you up at night, but
it sort of is sometimes.
It should be.
No.
It should be keeping more people up at night.
Yeah.
Than it is, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brought it back. Did you see that?
You did. You did. So
More
instead of doom
answers, more questions.
Yeah. So instead of doom scrolling, just do some doom worrying.
Will the profession be around? Yeah. Leave you with a final question, something to ponder
Boom, boom.
as you're trying to fall asleep tonight.
Exactly.
Oh, more questions than answers. Yes.
Exactly.